that Mickey Mantle behind you?
It is. This is my dad's letting me borrow his office when I get a chance to do the show just because obviously it's all sports
Right.
related in the background. But welcome to Field Day with Katie Black. I'm honored today I have with me.
Colin Branch.
What up, Colin? How are you doing today?
I'm good. I appreciate you having me on today.
Yes, thank you so much for joining. Behind the scenes, there was a little bit of some audio issues, you guys, so I'm more thankful than ever that we can hear each other. So first off, I did, a little research on you, and I'm big about birthdays. And so I understand that you're a Pisces. Is that correct?
I am. Good research. Yep.
Any thoughts on astrology or being a Pisces or any of that talk?
I couldn't tell you the first thing about what a Pisces is. I know I am one, but what that means is news to me. Any insight that you have, I'll take.
So funny you should ask. I don't know how much time, I don't want to take up the whole interview with astrology, but essentially what I know is definitely water sign. Um, and I mean, everyone could say that there's a touch of, psychic ability, but I feel like with water signs, there's a little bit extra. So I don't know if you have any like sensory gifts or any of that, or maybe like deja vu. I don't know what you categorize as deja vu or something like that.
Well, I can tell you that even though I can swim, I sink like a stone.
Really?
And my kids always laugh because I can't float. I've tried floating. I'm almost 43 years old, and I cannot float to save my life. And they laugh and laugh. I was like, you know what? If we are ever stuck in a big lake or on the ocean, and it's like I will be the first one to go. As
How
far as the and anything extra sensory, I don't know. I'd have to think about that one. I don't consider myself to have any sort of extra sensory perception or anything like that, but maybe that's something I should look into as I get older.
Yeah, why not? Why not? And then also too big in, and again, I'm sure people say this and they're like, any sign could fall under this category, but like really big into musical, maybe Broadway's, any some type of music connection. True?
I actually, when I was young, I mean like elementary school age, I played the cello and I sung in a choir, like through
Wow.
the school and the whole bit. Thank God there's no videotapes and recordings of that stuff nowadays. But yeah, I used to have a good voice. And then, obviously, playing sports and just that was where the bulk of my time went. Really didn't have the time, the opportunity to develop that any further. But I did like playing the cello, did like singing in the choir, at least for the
Very
couple
cool.
of years I actually did it.
Do you feel like, I mean, and I, on my other program, I talk to musicians. Do you feel like that's like you said, you kind of like lost your voice? Do you feel like that's something that like musicians, like you literally have to like protect and like keep up with, I guess?
I think it's just like any other talent. You've got to nurture it. You've got to
Hmm.
work hard at it. It's not something. Obviously, there's people with different talent, abilities, and gifts. Not everybody can sing like Whitney Houston can sing. But you know, you can you can work at it and be a very very good musician, whether it's vocally or with an instrument, just through hard work and effort and all those other things. Just like we would do in sports on the field. You can have a lot of talent and it just never materialize into anything if you don't work hard. So yeah, I absolutely do think if that was something I kind of poured my energy into, I could have been good at that as well.
So I always ask my guests, where were you born slash where did you grow up?
So not that we definitely weren't gypsies, but so my parents are actually originally born and raised in North Carolina. Not where I grew up though. My dad Grew up in a small little North Carolina town called Severn. So my grandparents, they were sharecroppers. I mean, it's, kind of up past Raleigh. They grow a lot of peanuts up in that area now. And then my mom was born and raised in Winston-Salem, and they met at NC Central, way back when. But then me and my two older brothers, we were all born in different states. So my oldest brother was born in Kentucky. My middle brother was born in Pennsylvania, and I was born in Ohio.
Oh,
So I
wow.
was actually born in Cincinnati. And people always ask me if I'm an Ohio State fan, and I'm not. But but if they're playing, I don't have a dog in the fight. I'll root for Ohio State every now. But even though I was born in Ohio, we spent some time in New York. So I love the Yankees. I see, your Mickey Mantle poster in the background. I've actually got a New York Yankees poster right above me as well, signed by Joe DiMaggio. So I'm a huge Yankee fan.
Whoa.
Oh yeah, love the Yankees. So we spent a little bit of time up in New York, and then the bulk of my childhood was in Houston, Texas. Spent about a decade there from when I was about 5 until I was about 14, until I started high school. And then we moved to San Diego, California. And that's where I went to high school, and then eventually went to college in California as well.
Wow, very cool. Do you have like a favorite place that you experienced if you had to pick?
Oh, San Diego. It's not even close. San Diego, I mean, just beyond, the weather and everything like that, it's such a laid back, kind of chill town, community, county, very different than the rest of Southern California.
Mm-hmm.
Just like all of California, it's a big melting pot. But something about San Diego, it's way more laid back. We were in a beach community called Carlsbad, and still talk to a number of friends I had back then, even though I'm on the East Coast now. It's a great place if you can afford to live there. Not that most people probably can't afford to live there, but they still live there anyway.
True.
It's hard to leave.
That's what I hear. I mean, I've visited California, but not specifically that area. So that's what I understand.
Yeah.
So getting into your, obviously an athlete, I always ask, like, at which point in your life did you discover a love for it, or that you were good at it, or that you wanted to do that?
Well, it's a good question. I don't know that the drive for it developed until later, but when I was a kid, my parents just signed me up kind of for everything. So fall, I'd play soccer. In the winter, I played basketball. In the spring, I'd play baseball, t-ball. And then during the summer, I mean, both my parents, were working either full-time or part-time. So during the summer, then, mom would just put us in some sort of camps, or we would do swim team. I wasn't very good at swimming, but still had to do, like swim team or tennis or, whatever camp, just to, keep us going. And that's what we did. I found I was, somewhat athletic, usually a little bit more athletic than most kids, which is fine. And it was probably, actually, I'll tell a quick story.
Yeah.
So, I guess sports where you just had to run, shoot a ball, kick a ball, I was fine. But baseball's, even though I played professional football, baseball's always been my favorite sport. Always been my favorite sport. But it was the sport that I was the worst at when I was young. So, I was the kid on the t-ball team that couldn't even hit the ball off the tee. I was that bad. So anytime you go to a t-ball field, don't laugh at that kid. I was that kid.
Yeah.
And I remember my dad asking me, so we finished the first t-ball season, And then the next season, playing t-ball again, he's like, do you want to play? And I was like, yeah, I still want to play. I think he was more asking, do I really have to keep going out to these baseball games and watching my 6-year-old son strike out playing t-ball? I was like, no, I still want to play. And I really just like going out and hanging out with my friends. That was really the only reason I liked playing. Well, then, after, and I was still really bad. And then I don't know what it was. The next year we had to play machine pitch. So obviously now, balls coming at you. It's not just sitting on a tee. And I don't know if it was part just maybe my body kind of caught up with itself a little bit. When I started t-ball, all of a sudden, I don't know, coordination somehow kind of got going and kind of came to me. And I don't know, maybe it was just goofing off with my brothers a little bit more too, trying to throw a ball, trying to hit a ball, trying to keep up with them. I ended up having a little bit better year. I was actually able to hit a ball. And then the next year, I was 8. I ended up the MVP of my team. Ended up batting, I don't know, like 750 or something like that year. I had like 9 home runs. It was kind of it was neat for me because I played really well. But it was kind of at that point when athletically things kind of started to click a little bit better and understanding kind of what's going on and how to do it and learning some of the fundamentals. But more importantly, it was really just when I was really young, even though I wasn't good, was just kind of staying involved and having fun doing it. Because at a certain point, kids can, start to put the pieces together. And for me, it just, it happened maybe a little bit later than other kids. But once I got it, I really got it. And at that point, we were living in Houston. And the kids that I went to school with, I don't know that we were any more athletic or talented than anybody else, but we had a really good baseball team. And so locally, kind of in that area, myself, the name Adam LaRoche? He played baseball for the Atlanta Braves.
Okay, yes.
So
now that you said the name in that background, yeah, I know who you're talking about now.
So I was really good friends with him. We played together. His dad had a nice property. We'd go back there. He had a whole batting cage, and him and his brothers, we all just goofed around with each other and, sleepovers and riding bikes and the whole bit. It wasn't rural, but, we were in suburbs and, you kind of just go do whatever you wanted to do after school. Another kid on our team that played professional baseball, Chris George, he played for the Royals for a little bit. He was a pitcher. So in a couple guys, they played in college. I ended up playing college football, but somehow we all just kind of congregated together. I don't know if it was just we were lucky. I think part of it was we just got lucky beating each other. We had good coaches. Matter of fact, who was it? For like a year, he was a professional baseball player, and he had a younger son. He ended up actually being like our batting coach for a year. It was the name will come to me in a minute. I tend to forget.
No worries.
But then like Chuck Knobloch's, not his manager, but a good friend of his was also one of our coaches, a guy named Butch Gootsman, who I'm still friends with today. And, he's got a great family and played with, his sons, during the whole time. So we ended up just having a really good baseball team. So
that's like what age range is this? Is this like middle school, high school? Like
this is middle school up until, and I ended up moving right before high school. So our 8th grade year, we ended up going to the AAU World Series. we qualified for it. Actually, we didn't play in it because we were hosting another, like, it was like double ABC World Series, which we ended up losing, and we got second place. We were a little ticked off about that one.
Mhm.
But then the next year, after I actually moved, we actually played. The same team played in the AAU World Series, and they won it. They actually won it 2 years in a row. It was pretty outstanding.
Yeah.
So it was just
That's crazy. That kind of
a
seems
great
like a
place
movie.
to play. Yeah, it was a great place to grow up in Houston, and we had, you know, phenomenal friends, and, you know, luck of the draw, we just ended up being really good at baseball. So loved baseball, and then when I moved out to California, I guess that was, you know, in regards to your question about, you know, love of the game. I think that's kind of how I developed a little bit of, you know, I guess a passion for sports, just because I had good friends around me. We had coaches and parents who cared about us. I know it wasn't cheap or easy for, you know, parents to get us to all those games. I think one summer we tallied it up. We played something like 72 baseball games in a summer. Yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot of baseball. It was a lot of games. This is 93, 94 or so. So it was a lot of baseball. But, I mean, we enjoyed it, and I think our parents enjoyed watching us as well. So
Oh, I'm sure.
I'll take it. So and now my parents live 5 minutes from me, you know, here in North Carolina. So I
Oh, that's nice.
tell them all the time, you know, thanks for taking the time, shuffle me around to all that stuff.
No, that's awesome. So essentially, was it almost like when you go out to California, did it like transition from baseball to football?
Well, I still played both, but
Okay.
then, you know, then I'm playing like high school baseball, high school football. I don't know. One, the caliber of baseball wasn't quite the same at the, you know, at the high school I ended up going to in Carlsbad as it would have been back in Houston. But I still loved baseball. But once football became a little bit more of a reality and more of a, I guess, a priority as far as my future went, then football started to, I guess, eclipse, you know, baseball, probably my junior year of high school. And then, you know, obviously then my, you know, senior year was, well, what do you want to do? And, you know, I chose football, and actually did not play baseball my senior year, just because I'd already, you know, got football scholarship and was on my way to Stanford University. I just figured, you know, devote my time to developing that. But that was probably the wrong decision to make. I should have kept playing.
Really?
Yeah, I should have played. And even when I got to college, because you only have one crack at it, I probably should have tried to walk on to the baseball team and play. And a couple guys on the football team did. Whether they played or not, they still walked on and
Right.
just got the experience.
Interesting. Yeah, because I always am like analyzing no matter who I'm talking to, or even like maybe myself sometimes. I'm like, you know, like which path do I take? And then looking back, like, did I do the right one? So it's interesting. Is it just because like you just had so much love and passion for baseball as opposed to football?
Yeah, I think, and part of it was, I think baseball was so much harder, just from a like a strategic and almost like a tactical standpoint. Like baseball, it's so, there's like just, there's little itty bitty things that you have to do. I mean, even with just, you know, from the way you hold the bat, you know, making sure you know you don't roll your wrist. I mean, there's all these little details in baseball. You know, call it, you know, they can always call it the thinking man's game. And something about that just, I just really liked it. You know, football, you still have to think a lot, but you're thinking at a much, much faster pace, and it's physically tougher, which is, I think, what drew me to that. Like with football, something about physically making your body do something that's really not natural is fun to me. I think that's why I did like it. That's why I still love it, because to me, I mean, there's really no other sport, at least, that's popular, in America that,
Mhm.
you know, you have the ability to just kind of physically change your body and overcome whatever's in front of you just through kind of sheer will and determination, which
Totally.
is, which is kind of neat.
Yeah, very cool perspective. What was, playing football in college like at Stanford?
But it's different than high school. And I try to tell high school kids that as well. Like, high school football is probably as pure as you're going to get as far as just being able to play the game without politics and bureaucracy and this, that, and the other. And, once you get beyond high school, then it does become, you really do see it becomes more of a business. And
Mm-hmm.
so when you get to college, initially you're not like, that's not how you think, but you understand it pretty quickly, or at least you should. I mean, because obviously college coaches and universities, especially when it comes to football and basketball and the, men's and women's basketball, and those are revenue generating sports. They've got to generate revenue. It's a real business,
Mm-hmm.
and it's your coach's livelihood as well. So, there's certain, responsibilities that come along with that, but it's still just a game as well. So you have to keep that in mind. I guess one of the main things that I always took to heart, and I actually got this from my head coach, Tyron Willingham, was, to enjoy the work it takes to be great. So not just the game, but all the work it takes, all the work that you have to put into being great is what you should actually enjoy the most. And so that's really what I took and kind of held on to, because not everything is going to go your way. Case in point, you I got to college, beyond just the academic part, which was difficult as well. Your body's not fully developed. You're not the player that you're going to be when you leave. I think I got to college. I played my senior year of high school at 165-ish pounds. By the time I left Stanford, I was 205 pounds. And I remember running a 4.68 40-yard dash my freshman year of college. My 40-yard dash, when I ran it at the NFL Combine, I ran a 4.39. So you're going to grow up, I guess, is really what's going to happen in college. Now, there's a lot that goes into that. So when I get there, I redshirt. So when you redshirt, coaches really, they don't pay attention to you, but you can still make them take notice of you. So,
But I guess just to stop you there, that's kind of crazy to me that a coach wouldn't give you kind of the time of day, essentially, is what you're saying at first.
yeah, because they're putting together a roster, a team that's going to compete that year. So if you're not part of that plan, if you're a freshman, you're not going to play, then it's all right. You're going to redshirt, and you're just going to be on essentially like the practice squad. Like, you're just going to help the main guys who are actually playing in the game get ready. So that's your job. So in doing that, like, that was my time to compete.
Okay.
So that's when you've got to grow up, and you're always going against first team, like, offense. So I'm playing defense. You're always going against like first team offense. So it's actually you're in a really good position day in and day out to play against guys who are bigger, faster, stronger, and are actually playing against, top tier talent.
Mm-hmm.
And you're practicing against them and trying to give them the best look day in and day out. That actually helped me get, I think, better quicker and actually get tougher quicker because they really don't care. They're going to try to beat you up as much as possible. So that was number one. And that to me is kind of what, by the end of the season, coaches began to take notice. And then going into the next year, still a younger guy, older people ahead of me, even though I think I'm more talented, doesn't matter what I think, you still have to go out and prove it. And then, it's still, what chances do you have, during spring bowl and during, camp to actually seize on those opportunities. And sometimes you do, and sometimes you don't. That next year, I guess I didn't do enough, and so I'm still a backup. I play special teams. Then my sophomore year, I think I've got a chance. The senior guy, he graduates. So I think I've got a chance. There's a couple guys that are still older than me. Frankly, I thought I was a better player, but it's still up to the coaches at that point. And a lot of times, again, it's their jobs on the line.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, you may be more talented, but are you making as many mistakes as are you still making the same mistakes, mental mistakes, busted assignments, things like that? So that's where kind of the metal meets the road, not only just knowing the playbook, but actually executing, making sure you're in the right spot, so on and so forth. So my sophomore year, I guess I didn't do that good enough, and I was still a backup. And I remember that year, we ended up going 5-6. And I made a number of plays on special teams that year, and, I had still, got in on, certain packages, whatnot on defense. But, it still wasn't enough to kind of crack the starting lineup on a regular basis. And then my junior year, then it finally happened. Now I'm starting playing well, the whole bit. But, essentially for 3, and I was a fifth year senior. So for 3 years, I'm a backup. It's not something that, most athletes who kind of get to the collegiate level deal with when they're younger, because they're typically the better players on the team and they're typically always playing. And I guess that's one thing that mentally you have to be prepared for, is if, it could be for a lot of things, could be injury, could be this, that, the other, maybe you just don't get along with coaches. You've got to be prepared to just control what you can control. And I've heard it from there's another guy here in town, you may know, Steve Israel, played corner, played for the 49ers. And, he tells his story. I mean, he had a rough time in college, but still ended up being a first or second round pick and had a long career in the NFL. But, just because things aren't going right today doesn't mean that things can't turn around tomorrow. So you just kind of have to keep your head down, control what you can control, and push forward.
Well, it sounds kind of too, even just talking to you now, maybe like all of that stuff in college was just like your own personal, even if it was like a mental like boot camp. No?
It is. Seems like a really long boot camp sometimes. But things work out as they do work out. I mean, that's just kind of one of the things that I trusted at that point, that things would work out the way that they were going to. And if not, you can, there's lots of things that you can do. It wasn't just about playing in the NFL, even though that's, I think, what I certainly wanted to do. I didn't know if that was a reality until probably after my junior year of college. And then I finally, I think, believed enough, like, okay, playing in the NFL is a possibility. But even if it wasn't, there was, I think at that point in my life, because I'd actually gone to, even though I went to Stanford, one of the, I guess really the other place that I had thought about going was actually the Naval Academy,
Oh, wow.
even though I can't swim. Join the Navy, even though you can't swim. But I always loved, the guy that would, come to our school and do the recruiting for Navy. I loved his pitch. Something about going to the Naval Academy, coming out, being an officer, and then just having, kind of the world ahead of you, whatever you want to do, always just seemed really cool to me. So actually, if I had not gotten drafted, I think that's probably the route that I would have gone, is probably into the military at that point.
Very cool.
Because I had no idea what else I wanted to do. I was like, I want to go to grad school in the traditional sense.
So, and I always ask athletes that I've talked to thus far that, you talked about like, your senior year, you kind of realize, okay, I could really do the NFL path. So did you have anyone be, like a mentor, or be like, we're going to do this? Like, you're like, how does that transition from, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, it was definitely my oldest brother, Calvin. So he played, so I'm at Stanford. He was actually, with the Oakland Raiders at that point in time. So he's 6 years older than me. So he was playing at that time. He played for 4 years as well. And then when he was done, he just transitioned into Oakland's scouting department, and he's still a scout with the Raiders now.
Cool.
So he was always kind of the immediate kind of champion for me, and always working with me. So we'd work out together, and he'd give me tips. I mean, so he even told me, he's like, all right, after your junior years, like, here's where we have you as far as safeties, for next year's draft. Like, he told me immediately, like, you're a top 10 safety as far as draft picks go. It's like, you'll probably be a third or fourth round pick. I was like, really? Wow. Yeah, I mean, because I didn't know. But after knowing that, then it's like, okay, this is
like, we're going to do this.
Yeah, this is real. And you just have to commit to doing it.
I understand you get drafted by the NFL in 2003. Is that correct?
2003, yeah.
To the Carolina Panthers, what up? I'm wearing an old school
That is old school
Panther sweatshirt. Obviously, I'm a big Carolina Panthers fan. So I was wondering is that the first year that we go to the Super Bowl? Am I, or no? Right?
Yeah.
Yes, that's crazy. So literally the first year of your NFL career, you go to the Super Bowl?
Yeah, that was, the whole thing was, kind of surreal, like looking back at it, it's like, yeah, that doesn't normally happen. Because you go from college, living, I tell people this story. I was living in a 2-bedroom apartment with a couple other guys. I'm sleeping on a futon mattress in the living room. Literally, when I get the phone call, from my agent saying, make sure your phone's on, you're getting good reception because the Panthers are about to call you. And I'm on the West Coast, and the fourth round or second day of the draft had just started. So it's barely 7 o'clock. I'm still sleeping, and get a phone call from the Panthers, and Marty Herney's on the line, and then John Fox gets on the line, and then a couple of reporters, and the whole bit, and then you're a Carolina Panther, and you're flying out here. And then you go from playing like 12 games back then in college to then playing between preseason, the regular season, and then making it all the way to the Super Bowl. You play 24 games. The toll that puts on your body is
intense.
It's intense. You're tired by the end of the season. It's a good tired. But how you got there, I think now I've got a little bit more of an appreciation for what it takes. And matter of fact, I was having this discussion a couple guys I work with the other day, and they were asking, like, how hard is it to like turn a team around, like in the NFL, and go from, not so good to a really good team? I was like, well, obviously it's difficult, but it's not as hard as you think. I was like, really, what you need, I think, what all GMs, are going to say is you need draft picks. And when you look at, when John Fox came here, they went from 1-15 to 7-9, and then we were in the Super Bowl. And it wasn't like a huge roster turnover, but they drafted well. You draft Steve Smith and Chris Jenkins and Julius Peppers, and you start putting good pieces together. And you've got good veterans. You make some key acquisitions. You don't have a Hall of Fame quarterback. Had really good quarterbacks, guys who I consider, friends still, like Rodney Peete and Jake Delhomme. But the fact that you can get to the Super Bowl, and come within inches of winning it without a Hall of Fame quarterback like a Tom Brady or a Peyton Manning, or, throw in, any quarterback's name, is pretty tremendous. And it really was just about building a roster and a team that fits together. And then the same thing can go the other, and you can still do all of that. And then the next year you go 7-9 again, which is what we did. So it's a lot of things just have to click, and you have to get a little lucky, but you're lucky because you're prepared.
Mm-hmm.
That was the thing, especially like in those first 5 games of that season. We started off 5-0, and we had a couple of fourth quarter comebacks, last minute wins. We got to 8-3. So it just, things worked out well when it came to, I think, the schedule, who we played, kind of when we played them, and then just the way the team was built. It was defense, running the ball. Stephen Davis had an all-pro season to get, close to 1,500 yards rushing that year. Deshaun Foster was still, a great running back, behind him at that point in time. So things worked out well, and it clicked. So the teams that are all coming in, to the playoffs now, I don't know who's going to win it this year, but one of these teams, things are going to start clicking if they haven't started clicking already. And they're going to be that team that just, when you see them through the weeks in the playoffs, they're going to be the ones that just, they're just going to look like that team. A couple of years ago, like Tampa, earlier in the season, that year Tampa won it a couple of years back. Nobody would have thought they were going to win the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. But then it's like, things start clicking, and then all of a sudden they're virtually unbeatable. Defense is playing great. Brady's having, one of his seasons, and they just roll through the playoffs and end up winning the Super Bowl. It's like that's usually what it takes. That's kind of what happened to us. It just, things clicked. And the main game that I think that we had the most hesitation about in the playoffs, mm-hmm. It wasn't Dallas. We knew we were a better team than Dallas. We knew we were a better team than the Eagles, who we played in the NFC Championship game. It was really the Rams. It wasn't a great matchup for us. They still had Marshall Faulk. They had, 2 Hall of Fame wide receivers, even though Kurt Warner wasn't there. It was still, I think they were the second seed in the NFC that year. They were a really good team, but it was just a bad matchup. And that's the one, got it to overtime, and, Steve caught the pass, and we ended up scoring and winning. That was the one that, if there was any degree of doubt, it was that game. That was a tough one. But once we got past that game, beating the Eagles, we knew we had that one in the bag. And frankly, I thought if we just could have got the overtime against the Patriots, we would have won that game too.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, to watch that, like, or even what you say about the playoffs, all of it was just like unbelievable, like a real game, and just like, oh my gosh. I still have like images of just, I mean, we would just scream. We would just scream, go out into the street and just all of them. Cause it was just like, I can't even put it into words as a fan. It was just like incredible. But interesting that you say about the Super Bowl, I guess, specialty sauce or whatever. It's almost like what I've studied, obviously, just from being a fan. It just seems to be, I feel like a lot of things in life are like a really great recipe. And I feel like part of that recipe is just like a team being a team. I know that sounds corny, but right? Don't you think that's
It
part
is,
of
and
it?
it's hard to do. I mean, and you can see it this year from the Panthers. It was kind of night and day between two head coaches, and a lot of it is that it's you know having the right leadership in place, and this is beyond football too. It's like if you have leadership right, GM, head coach, and the staff, putting that winning team together is a whole lot easier than if those first pieces, GM, head coach, coaching staff, are not are not the right fit. And what it looked like to me is that Matt Rule over the last couple of years was just, but it doesn't mean he's a bad head coach. Nobody would say Nick Saban is a bad head coach, even though things didn't work out for him in the NFL with the Dolphins. I mean, the guy's, obviously probably one of the greatest, if not the greatest, college football head coach in
Mm-hmm.
football of all time. He knows what he's doing, but the fit still has to be right. And for the Panthers over the last couple of years and beginning of this year, it wasn't the right fit. I think they've found some of the identity that they want now
Mm-hmm.
and probably need. Whether they go with Steve Wilkes or not is to be seen. So we'll see. But having the right leadership is
Key. Totally. Yeah, I just feel like I could go on all day, but I guess I just feel like with the Matt Rule, again, obviously, I like to say like energy and vibes, but I just felt like again through the television or the random games that I was able to see, and the energy was off, the dynamic was off, and like I said, I don't, you know,
it's hard to put your thumb on sometimes.
yeah, it's just like a
And
six. And it has, I know I'm sure everyone's like, oh, we'll just look at the stats of us losing. But like for me as a fan, it was more than that. It was just something's off.
it is, and it can be, and all of that kind of trickles down. So and players still take their key from the guy leading the ship, which is
Right.
the head coach. Head
Totally.
coaches really have to be, you have to be so in tune with the vibe of your team. And each team year to year can be very, very different, but you're the consistent part to it. So
It's like you're the captain, you know?
yeah, because of that, it's like, all right, everybody's still looking to you to right the ship when it's going wrong, to keep it going in the right direction when things are going right, and being that kind of that solid person that everybody can lean on. And if they, even though we're all grown men, like you're still the guy that everybody's looking up to.
Totally.
Even though you may be 30 something years old and a head coach in the NFL, you might even have some players that are older than you. You're still the captain. You're still the
Totally.
guy. And I don't know that even though you may be a great coordinator, not everybody is suited for that role in the NFL. And you kind of find that out through trial and error.
Totally. And I guess anyone listening, it's like you can use this example of like no matter what industry you're in, there's always like maybe someone that's like a boss or leader, and you're like, I don't know how that happened. No shade. But like, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter what industry, there's always someone that's of higher superiority that like the other, employees are like, wait, what?
Yeah, exactly.
But right,
And
right.
sometimes when things are just going right, industry is everybody's making money, everybody's doing well. You can kind of cover up those flaws, and then things go the other way, like they're going right now across the globe, and you just see mass firings. And now it's like, okay, yeah, there is a war for talent, and really the war is I need people in these positions, or I need leadership that can actually help us get through this time, because there's actual work that has to be done
Hmm.
in order for us to not just survive, but to really excel and thrive even through a turbulent time. And that is not easy to find, and that's a big issue, just corporately.
Hmm. Oh my
And
gosh,
whether you're with a
yes.
small business or big business,
Yes.
it is it's a dog eat dog out there right now.
Totally. Well, real quick before we go back to the Panthers and what have you. So I overheard this that and again this is from like a southerner, but that West Coast football is different than East Coast. Do you find that is that true or is that kind of laughable or
I think it used to be, not so much anymore.
okay.
So, like when I was growing up, there was definitely like West Coast, your Bill Walsh kind of West Coast offense. You might even throw like the run and shoot type of offense that the Oilers used to run into that category. And then you had kind of the older school East Coast, ground and pound, just that hard nosed type of offense and defense. Well, now it's really all just kind of meshed together,
Hmm.
and there's really no difference between this or the other, because everybody's really running the same stuff nowadays. And I'll tell people all the time, there is no new play that any offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator draws up today that is any different than what has always been done.
Hmm.
Now it's just about really just the mentality. I will say this though, the teams that tend to have the most success over a long period of time, just a couple things. They're really well coached. They're disciplined, meaning the amount of fouls they commit are much lower than everybody else, and they are really physical. Like the last part being just a physical team and playing fast is really the hallmark of whether it's football or anything else, any sport. You play fast and you play physical, you'll always be good. So the play at that point, whether it's a pass, a run, whether you got four wide receivers or no wide receivers, it's really all
The
the
same.
same. And nowadays, it's really just about your personnel. So just like we were just talking about, having the personnel is
Everything.
what all teams are trying to put together. So you can look at a team that again, some of the better teams that have existed. Um, you may have two really good tight ends. Well, I want both of them on the field as much as possible.
Hmm.
Okay, well, I've got two really good running backs, and D'Angelo Williams and you know somebody else. I was like, well, I want them both. I want them to both get touches. I've got three really good wide receivers. You'll still run the exact same plays with different personnel. I just need to get the ball to my playmakers. Same thing on defense. It's like, well, one year my personnel may be better suited to blitz a lot, so I'm going to blitz.
Hmm.
Whereas the next year, my personnel might have matured a little bit, and we've got a really good defensive line, and we can get pressure just with that defensive line. So we're just going to play zone, or we're just going to play man behind it. We're not going to blitz a lot. So your personnel is going to dictate the play calling, and the better coaches around the league, I think, know that, and they adapt how they call based on the personnel that they have. Otherwise, if you try to fit people into a mold that they're not suited for, you're going to have a rough time. You can take a Pro Bowl player and make him really pedestrian by putting him in a position and making him do things that he's not suited to do. So that's the key, is put people in a place to be successful.
The other seasons, like basically what was the vibe experience like after, the heartbreaking Super Bowl loss with the Panthers?
Frankly, I mean, everybody just thought it was like, all right, well, we can do it again the next year. Now, we did have some people retire. We had a couple of guys in the offensive line retire. So our team got younger. And, we lost people to free agency because, you go to the Super Bowl and now everybody wants your best players. So you lose people to free agency. So we actually got pretty young pretty quick. And then the next season, and then we had a bunch of injuries going into that next season. I think we had the most players in the NFL on IR that next year. Yeah. And so I'm starting, Ricky Manning, he's starting. We have rookies, like Chris Gamble, he's a rookie, he's starting. And we struggled. I struggled, mightily. I was not playing well the first half of the season. And then things kind of started to click, and we actually almost worked our way back into the playoffs. I think we were 7-8. If we'd won our last game, we actually would have made the playoffs at 8-8. We started off 1-7. So, to do that and to work our way back took a lot of effort. But after the Super Bowl, I don't think anybody really had any doubt that we couldn't get back into the playoffs and make another run. Everybody was working hard. I think we had a great camp. Just the chips don't always land the way that you want them.
Totally.
Season to season.
Well, did you enjoy the Charlotte? Did you enjoy the fans? Was that overall?
Oh yeah. And, met tons of great friends, through the organization and out of it. And, certainly made my home here and just live up here in Lake Norman and, raised a great family. So yeah. Carolina made an impression on me. And matter of fact, since I stayed here, I got my parents obviously to move close to be near the grandkids. So, it's worked out really well, being a Carolina Panther. Not a team I ever thought was going to draft me and bring me here, but it certainly turned out to be a blessing.
Oh, that's awesome to hear. Very cool. Before I get into post NFL life, I understand that so you were here in Carolina from seasons 03 to 06, right?
Yep.
And then you played season of 2007 with the Raiders.
I was there for like a cup of coffee. I got cut in training camp.
Okay. Okay.
And then my knee was, it was in bad shape. So, I was a shell of what I was able to do before.
No, I understand. Did you view that as a blessing in disguise that you're I'm ready to make my exit, or how did that experience go?
Everybody, you kind of know it's coming. Especially when you just can't play at that high level anymore. Mm-hmm. Injury or age, combination of both, whatever it might be. So it's just, you get cut and it's I knew I couldn't play at this level anymore. I was really just trying to hang on. So once a team just says you're done, you're done, then it's a pretty easy decision. Just, all right, let's pack up. Let's go back to Carolina and figure out what to do.
No, I understand. Because, obviously, it sounds like to an extent, and I'm sure a lot of individuals experience this where you just feel like you're burnt out, you're exhausted to an extent.
You have a lot of emotions. You are burnt out. You've been doing this for who knows how long. You've been playing a game. You haven't had a real job yet. You've literally been just playing a game. Mm-hmm. And earning money doing it, which is awesome. You're not behind a desk. You're not shuffling papers around. You're not making calls.
Right.
You're on the field or in the weight room or on the track. that's a great way to live. So yeah, I mean, yeah, you're done, but there's a lot of, you know, uh, I'd probably say every player, doesn't matter who you are, like you're that let down and then not being able to continue playing. Like you're going to have bouts of, depression and things like that. Just
Totally.
that's natural. I mean, if you were a surgeon and then all of a sudden somebody came in and said, you can't be a surgeon anymore, get your stuff and leave, that's going to sting. So, it's just, you have to go through all of those emotions. And, that's a big part of, having good people around you. It's not easy. Definitely not easy. I mean, it can take a long time to kind of get back and find any sense of normality once you're done playing. Because frankly, you don't know what's normal at that point in time.
Because it's almost, sorry.
No, I was going to say, like, not to put anybody else's, dirty laundry out there, but you can see it with guys who just seem like they can't retire. Like a lot of guys, it's just like, well, what am I going to do afterwards? You could be the most successful person on the field and have lots of stuff to do outside of it, but still you like the routine, you like what you do, and then trying to fill what else in life is going to fill that if I don't have it? Mm-hmm. That's a question not a lot of people want to ask themselves.
Right. Well, and I guess obviously I'm not an athlete, but just from my study of it and just obviously learning from the individuals like yourself that I speak with, it's almost like it's a death. Is that fair to say?
Very. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, if you've ever had a pet pass away, like it is like that. Like,
yeah,
you had a dog that you've loved for a decade, 11, 12, 13 years, and you have to put it down. Like, I've had that experience. It hurts.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
It's very similar to, retiring and being done playing. It hurts.
Do you feel like do you wish that like there was some part of somewhere within the NFL loop that like prepared you guys for this, or do you feel like there's just no one could have prepared you guys regardless?
No, it's nothing that I think anybody can prepare you for. It's just that is part of life. Is you chose to have this great experience, to put in the work to get to this level of your profession, whether it's you're a professional skier or football or soccer, whatever. And eventually, because it is athletics, you are going to have to give it up, or you're going to have to quit or retire. But nobody can actually prepare you for that day that it actually happens. That's not possible. That's just
I understand.
Something that having a support system you can get through and get beyond and keep living.
Well, I always tell my guests, thank you for sharing so far. I appreciate it. So coming back to the East Coast, like, what do you do to get into like any type of job or career?
Is a good question. I didn't really know what I wanted to do, frankly. And I sat down with some people and just kind of asked them what they did. And, because, at that time now I'm 28, 29 years old. And it's, you have just a regular career in the NFL. You don't make, millions and millions of dollars. You're just kind of like another guy. So then it's like, okay, well, everybody I graduated with back in college, they've been in their careers for the last 5 years or whatever, or they're in grad school. So then it's like, what do? Do you go back to grad school? Do you try to find a new passion? Maybe you've done some of that while you've been playing. So I kind of got to the finance industry through some friends and people that I knew. And then, just kind of began learning the industry, finance, investments, insurance, and all those things. And, along the way, got my MBA, gotten some other professional designations, and, now I'm in a place where I'm more of a consultant and thought leader as far as, the industry that, my firm is in. And we're, kind of in the marketing and consulting side of financial services. So we don't work directly with the consumer, but we work with financial advisors and other financial institutions. So they lean heavily on us for not just product choices, but, other marketing and business development, strategies and tactics and things like that. So that part I love, especially, getting my, having, my master's in business, and then, understanding how this side of the industry works. This part is exciting to me, to be in it kind of every day, because it's constantly changing. Rules, regulation, legislation, all that stuff is impacting, finance and investments on a daily basis. So it's never boring. I will say that. And things seem to be constantly changing.
Oh, I'm sure.
That's fun. So I found something that's, fun, it's challenging mentally. And, I like that a lot.
When your coworkers or new friends find out that you were part of the NFL, are they always like, "Oh, whoa"? Like, what's the common reaction?
Usually their eyes get bigger, like, really? So, like, some of the people that are like my age, like, I mean, they know who I am. And,
right.
So that's one thing. But especially in like a corporate environment, we've got, we're still a small business, but we've got 220-ish employees. So you've got, good amount of folks who, probably are my age or saw me play. And then we've got people who are in their 20s who never saw me play. And so, we'll just be talking, or somebody will tell him, like, yeah, he played professional football. They're like, no way. No, you didn't. Not that I look completely different now. I think I'm still in pretty good shape. But they're like, really? Like, yeah, I played.
I guess.
and then they're like, really? I'm like, yeah, it was fun. Did you enjoy it? Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was fun. But, and actually something made me feel kind of old. There was a guy that I work with, and he's in his late 20s, but he actually has my autograph. I guess him and his sister came with their parents down to Spartanburg to Wofford College during training camp. And after one of our practices, I was signing autographs, and he said I was the only player that signed him and his sister's hat or program or something like that. So they've always had my autograph.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's like a full circle moment for him, huh?
That was kind of neat. Made me feel a little old. I was like, man, how old are you again? I was like, good night, man. Well, I'm glad you have a good opinion of me.
Yeah, that's why I guess you just, throughout life, you never know who might circle back around,
Yep.
Well, I guess, do you have any like lasting injuries that you care to share? I've had one guy tell me there's no specific thing, but I just kind of always ache. Do you?
You know what? I've got a number of orthopedic issues, which over the years some of them have actually gotten better. So, I had a really bad knee injury on my right knee. That knee's actually doing really, really well. So I work out, I lift completely different than I did way back then in my 20s. I mean, I don't put anything, no squats or anything. I don't put anything on my back because I've got bulging disc and bad neck and bad back. So yeah, I've got to be very careful about how I lift and what I do. Like even right now, I always had problems with stingers. So I do have like some nerve damage down the left side of my arm, which every now and then that nerve gets pinched. It'll just, create a stinging feeling. And then I, start to lose like muscle tone and things like that. So then that's a whole nother issue. But one thing I do like to do is I like to play. So my kids have always all played soccer. So I actually play in an adult soccer league here in Charlotte. So I love doing that. So I stay in shape. I run a lot, lift weights, just, try to stay in shape. But I love playing soccer now. So
that's very
what
cool.
I do with my time. So you can catch me Sunday nights through the Charlotte Independence North Mech Adult League, playing adult league soccer.
Very cool. Very cool. Real quick, I know this might be random, not that I haven't kind of been random already, but okay, so I've gone through periods of my life where I run and then I don't, and I run and then I don't, but I have never experienced a runner's high. Have you? Do you know what that is?
So I yes.
Okay.
So I'm not really a distance person. I like interval training more than anything. So like when I run, I like doing like a quarter mile rest, half mile rest. I'll do like a ladder, but I don't really like running longer than like a mile. Okay. But I have done a half marathon before. So for me, I hit a runner's high right around mile 2, kind of through mile 4.5, if I'm running. And that's when I'm like really like in the zone. And it's actually when I'm like at my fastest typically. And then once I get right around like 7 miles, then I start to slow down. So for me, it's like I kind of warm up till about mile 2, and then my speed tends to pick up, and it is that runner's high. Like you're in the, playing football and playing sports. It's like being in the zone. Like everything is just kind of natural. Music's going. Whatever's going on, and your body just has this kind of natural energy to it. And then, then it kind of start. It'll start to fade. And I think a lot of that is just based on your own conditioning. But for me, it's like mile 2 to 4.5 is when I'm really feeling it. And then kind of from 4.5 to 7
kind of drops off.
I've kind of plateaued. And once I get over 7 miles, I'm just struggling to find the finish line.
Okay, very cool. Because I've asked a couple people that and they're like, what? I'm like, no, I keep hearing about this runner's high. So cool.
Some people live and die by it. It's like they get on the treadmill or they hit the pavement and they run to feel that.
Interesting.
Oh yeah. I don't really get it. I like interval training, even like short, like sprint training. I still like doing stuff like that. I'd rather do that. I think it burns more calories anyway than just running.
No, I understand. Okay, 2 more random things. So I am, I don't know, clairvoyant, whatever. I don't know how to label it. I'm still discovering what it is. But the last like 20 minutes I've been talking to you, I see Bubblicious gum.
Bubblicious gum.
Is that like...
I haven't had Bubblicious in years.
Well, did that used to be a ritual, or did someone used to give that to you as a treat or something?
I mean, I loved it when I was a kid. Oh yeah.
Maybe that's...
We collected baseball cards. I mean, you collect baseball cards and gum.
Well, then maybe that's it. Okay. Yay, okay. It checks out to an extent. Cool. Okay. Final question. I always end on something funky. Oh, okay. So I'm fascinated by the unexplained. So I was wondering if you've ever seen a ghost or like something abnormal that you can share?
I mean, I could share some. It'd take another hour. There's a whole
Really?
explanation to it. Oh
Really?
yeah. So I won't go into that one, but I will say yes. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Wow. Very cool.
Yeah. I'm definitely, I obviously consider myself a Christian, a believer, but there are some there are some things I have seen that
You can't
are
explain.
just, oh yeah. I can explain them. Whether you believe me or not is
Fair. That's fair.
up to you. It's, oh yeah.
And honestly, same kind of vibe with myself, or just even trying to explain to people that like I see images randomly, you know? But all right, Colin, that's it. What'd you think?
No, this was fantastic. I appreciate you having me on.
Yes, thank you so much for joining and sharing. I appreciate you sharing all your experiences. And like I said, such an honor anytime I talk to a Panther player. So very cool.
I appreciate it. Thanks, and certainly do it anytime.
Awesome sauce.